Hey, what's up guys, DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a Megalith deck profile. So I'm really excited to see you guys because this deck is a really interesting ritual-based deck that actually uses the ritual monsters as the ritual spells, which is super interesting for this deck to be able to do. It's a really fun deck to be able to play around with and has some insane combos, and I'm really excited to show you guys all the cards I'm playing in this deck. So, without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name description in every single video, getting a signed card to the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron, along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Megalith Ophiel. This card is a great 3-of that has the ability that you can ritual summon this card with a Megalith card. And if this card is ritual summoned, you can add a Megalith monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of Ophiel. And then during the main phase, you can activate this effect to ritual summon 1 ritual monster from your hand by attributing monsters from your hand or field, including this card on the field, whose total levels equal or exceed the level of the ritual monster, which is where it comes in, where they're actually counting as the ritual spells, which is super interesting for this deck. We then play 3 copies of Megalith Haggoth. Megalith Haggoth is also a great 3-of in this build because it has the ability that you can ritual summon this card with a Megalith card, and if this card is ritual summoned, you can add a Megalith spell or trap from your deck to your hand. And then it shares the exact same effect as Ophiel, where you can use it to ritual summon a monster. We then play just a single copy of Och. Och is here for the name, that you have an additional name in the deck, but it has a really neat effect, but you really only need 1 copy of this card. You can ritual summon it with a Megalith card, and if this card is ritual summoned, you can draw a card and then discard a card, which helps you dig into the deck and get some cards you might want in the graveyard. We then play 3 copies of Megalith Fool. I did consider playing this card as a 2-of in this build, but I ended up with 3 in playtesting and really liked it. It has the ability to ritual summon this card with a Megalith card, and this card is ritual summon. You can target 1 ritual monster in the graveyard, and this card's level becomes the level of that target, and then add that target back to your hand, which is a great effect to be able to get the exact card that you want from the graveyard back to the hand, so you can ritual summon it out later. And it also has the ability that during the main phase, quick effect, you can activate the effect to ritual summon a Megalith ritual monster from your hand or deck by attributing monsters from your hand or field whose total level equal or exceed the level of the ritual monster, which is a great effect to be able to just instantly go into the exact Megalith that you need. We then play 2 copies of Megalith Beathor. Beathor is an insanely powerful card that has the ability that you can ritual summon it with any Megalith card, and you can discard this card and to ritual summon 1 Megalith ritual monster from your hand by attributing monsters from your hand or field whose total level equal or exceed the level of that card. And if this card is ritual summon, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, or target cards your opponent controls up to the number of ritual monsters with different names in the graveyard, and destroy them. This card can literally board wipe your opponent's entire board, depending on the amount of cards your opponent has, and depending on the different ritual monsters that you have in the graveyard, which is an insanely powerful effect. We then play just a single copy of this Megalith card because basically this card is just an attack boost that has the ability that monsters that you control gain 300 attack and defense for each ritual monster in the graveyard. This card can make your Megalith monsters absolutely humongous, but I feel like you really only need a single copy of this card. We then play a single copy of Aratron. Aratron is a good 1-of as well because Aratron has the ability that basically you can activate the effect that you can ritual summon this card with any Megalith card, and then during the main phase, quick effect, you can discard this card to ritual summon a Megalith ritual monster from your hand by attributing monsters from your hand or field whose total level equal or exceed the level of that monster. And then when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a card that you control, quick effect, you can place a ritual monster from your graveyard on the bottom of the deck, and if you do, negate the activation of that card and destroy that card, which is a pretty good effect to be able to basically just stop your opponent from targeting, but it's only once per turn. We then play just a single copy of Cyber Angel Benton, because you can only play 1 copy of Benton, but it's really good to be able to search out your light fairies when this card is tributed. We play a single copy of Magician of Black Chaos Max. This card is absolutely insanely powerful in this deck because this card can basically shut down your opponent's entire field, because it has the ability you can ritual summon this card with Chaos form, but you don't have to ritual summon it with Chaos form. We can go around that, but it has the ability that if this card is special summon, then you can tribute 1 monster. Your opponent cannot activate monster cards effects this turn. which is an insanely powerful effect to basically just stop your opponent from using any monster's effects. And when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can target a spell card in the graveyard and add it back to your hand, which is a very good effect for this deck to get the exact card that you need back from the graveyard. We then play for the last 3 ritual monsters. We're playing 3 copies of Incantation Chalice Slime. This card is really good because it helps you get the exact incantation out of the deck to your side of the field by just revealing this card and discarding a card, so you can get that add from deck to hand of a ritual spell or ritual monster, or grabbing something from the graveyard off of one of your incantation's effects. So that's it for the ritual monsters. Let's get into the regular monsters. So for the regular monsters we're playing in this deck, we're going to be playing just a single copy of Talismandra because you can special summon it off your copy of Chalice Slime. This card is a really neat effect that basically can reveal a ritual monster in your hand to special summon both this card and another incantation monster from the deck, except another copy of itself. And if this card is special summoned from the deck, you get to add a ritual monster from your deck to your hand, which is a pretty good effect for this deck. We then play a single copy of Kandal. Kandal has the exact same effect as Talismandra, it just works with ritual spells instead of ritual monsters, as you can reveal a ritual spell in your hand to special summon this and another incantation from the deck, and if this card is special summoned from the deck, you get to add a ritual spell from your deck to your hand. We then play 2 copies of Pencil Plume as well. Pencil Plume is probably the best of them in this deck because it has the ability to reveal a ritual monster in your hand, special summon both this card from your hand and an incantation from the deck, and if this card is special summoned, then you can add a ritual monster back from your graveyard to your hand, but only if this card is special summoned from the deck. The only downside to these cards and why you play them at such a low number is you can't special summon from the extra deck while they're on the field, so you want to get them off the field as quickly as possible. We then play 3 copies of Diviner of the Herald, which I'm still proxying right now. If you guys would like to see how to make those for playtesting only, this card is a really good card, and I have a video on the channel of how to make these proxies. So this card has a really neat effect that if this card is normal or special summon, you can send 1 fairy monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard, and if you do, increase this card's level by the level of that card until the end of this turn, which usually you're going to send your copy of Herald of the Arclight from the extra deck to the graveyard to make this card a level 6. But it also has the ability that if this card is tributed, then you can special summon a level 2 or lower fairy monster from your hand or deck, which is a pretty good effect to be able to get the exact fairy monster that you want on your side of the field, except another copy of itself. And we also play 3 copies of Manju of the 10,000 Hands. Manju of the 10,000 Hands is one of the best normal summons of this deck besides your Diviners, because this card basically, when you normal summon it to your side of the field, you can add a ritual monster or ritual spell from your deck to your hand, which is a really good effect. We then play a single copy of Adamantipator Researcher. This card is basically here because all of your Megaliths are rock monsters, so you can special summon this card to your side of the field to help you go into some really good synchro plays, and also extend your plays into some really insane combos. We then play a single copy of Recover. Recover is here because it helps me go in for my copies of Naturia Beast, because you want to be able to lock down your opponent with Naturia Beast very easily with this card, and it's very easy to summon this card to your side of the field because if this card's in the graveyard and your opponent has 5 or more cards in their extra deck than you do, you can pay 2,000 life points to special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field, so it can easily recover itself, back to your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Despot 01. Despot 01 is here because it's easy to summon off your copy of your Needle Fiber to then go into your Auroradon combos, and a single copy of Coltwing as well, because Coltwing is super easy to go into in this deck with your Auroradon combo to get some insane synchro plays on your field. We then play 2 copies of Nibiru, which is actually very easily searchable in this deck. And this card is basically here because it can board wipe the opponent, and it actually has 600 defense, so it's searchable off your copy of Cupid Pitch, which is really, really good. Actually, it's level 11, so you can't search this card, but it's still really good in the deck to be able to search it off your Galleon Granite. Excuse me, not Cupid Pitch. But this card is really easy to search off your Galleon Granite to basically apply pressure to the opponent so they don't make an insane field. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, for a ritual deck, you don't play that many spells, but for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Incantation Inception. Incantation Inception is basically here just as a general ritual spell. It's really, really good for the deck, but you only need a single copy of it. Play a single copy of the Megalith field spell, which is Megalith Portal. Megalith Portal is a neat card because the first time each ritual monster would be destroyed by battle each turn, it is not destroyed. And if a Megalith monster is special summoned, except during the damage step, you can target a ritual monster in the graveyard and add it back to your hand, giving you that little bit more more of Recover that you might need for the deck. We then play 3 copies of Megalith Unformed. Megalith Unformed is a great card for this deck, and you really should be playing 3 copies of this card because it has the ability that all ritual monsters, you can apply one of the effects. All ritual monsters you control lose, or all monsters your opponent control lose 500 attack for each ritual monster on the field until the end of the turn, which can reduce them down to 0, which is really, really good depending on what your opponent has on the field. And it has the ability to apply this effect to ritual summon a Megalith ritual monster from your deck in defense position by tributing monsters from your hand or field whose total level equal or exceed twice its level. So for example, if I'm trying to summon out a level 4, I have to go level 8. If I'm trying to summon out a level 8, I have to go for a level 16, which is kind of interesting for this card. We then play 3 copies of Preparation of Rites Preparation of Rites is really good because it has the ability to add a level 7 or lower ritual monster from your deck to your hand, and then you can add a ritual spell from your graveyard to your hand, but you don't have to add the ritual spell for this card to be able to get the exact ritual monster from the deck that you need. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we just play a single trap in this deck, and it's a single copy of Megalith Emergence. Megalith Emergence is a really good searchable card in this deck that has the ability that you can target a Megalith monster in the graveyard and special summon it in defense position, but place it on the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field, even if this card leaves the field, and you can only use this effect once per turn. This card is a really good one of them here because it's basically a Call of the Haunted every single turn, which is super, super helpful, while also recovering cards out of the graveyard and putting them back into the deck. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of Gallant Granite, which is how we're going to be searching that copy of Nibiru and a lot of different cards in this deck. Super easy to summon, just detach a material and add a rock monster from your deck to your hand, which is super helpful for this deck. 1 copy of Abyss Dweller just to shut down graveyards, which is super helpful again in this deck. 1 copy of Needle Fiber because it's very easy to summon in this deck and very good to be able to go into the Auroradon combos. 1 copy of Auroradon, because Auroradon is just super powerful in this deck, because basically it's going to give you all those tokens on your side of the field to be able to go into some insane synchro plays. 1 copy of the Sacred Flame. This card is insanely powerful. Nephthys of the Sacred Flame is just a insanely powerful ritual monster. Depending on how many ritual monsters you use to link summon this card depends on the effects that it gets. If you use 2 ritual monsters, or if you use just 1, it can't be destroyed by battle. If you use 2, it can't be destroyed by card effects, and it gains 1200 attack points. And if you use all 3 of them are ritual monsters that you use to link summon this card, which you usually do, neither player can target this card with card effects, and it also gains an additional 1200 points, which goes up to 4800. And it's a really insane when you put all 3 as ritual monsters, which you usually do with this card, because it can't be destroyed by battle, can't be destroyed by card effects, and it can't be targeted either, and it's 4800, which is absolutely insane. We then play a single copy of Formula Synchron, which this card is basically here to summon off your copy of Needle Fiber to be able to draw a card and go into a synchro play during your opponent's turn. 2 copies of Herald of Arclight. I really wanted to play 3 of this, but I couldn't find the room for a 3rd copy of this. But basically this card has the ability, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a ritual monster, ritual spell from your deck to your hand. This card is really good because on your Herald of your copy of Diviner of Herald, you're going to be using this card to basically send from the extra deck to the graveyard to be able to get a search and increase that copy of Diviner up to a level 6. We then play a single copy of Cupid Pitch. This card is really good because it has the ability that if this card is synchro summoned and sent to the graveyard as a synchro material, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to the new synchro monster's level times 100. And if you do, you can add a level 8 or lower, which is why I said you couldn't search Nibiru, monster with 600 defense from your deck to your hand, which is a very handy effect. We then play a single copy of Naturia Beast. Naturia Beast is basically here just to lock your opponent's spell cards down. Super easy to summon in this deck with all the earth monsters that we're playing. 1 copy of Naturia Barkion to lock down traps. Again, super easy to play in this deck and super easy to make. 1 copy of Desert Locust because you can make it off your copy of the Crystron Needle Fiber. F.A. Dawn Dragster to be able to basically stop spells and traps. Borreload Savage Dragon because it's again very, very easy to summon to your side of the field, especially with Cupid Pitch and Auroradon. And it's super powerful in this deck because basically it can negate stuff on the field, which is super nice. And a single copy of Baron de Fleur, which Baron de Fleur is an extremely powerful card in this deck and a very, very good one of. If you're looking for a little bit more budget options for this deck, you can change out the Borreload Savage Dragon out for a copy of Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, and if you want to change out the Baron de Fleur, you can change out the Baron de Fleur for a Satellite Warrior, which is another option for you guys. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to be able to play with. I really like this deck because the majority of the Megalith main deck is pretty budget, and it's really, really fun because the majority of the stuff in the deck is basically just commons or super rares, which is kind of neat for this deck. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.